Good morning. Today we are solving absolute value inequalities, which means instead of having the equal sign, we're going to have less than or greater than symbols. So exactly the same way we solved our equalities, or with the equal sign. Remember, we wrote two equations, one equal to the negative number and one equal to the positive number, because whatever is in our absolute value in our shower has to come out clean. So whatever is in here could be equal to a negative or to a positive, because the absolute value means it's going to come out clean. So here, whatever's inside our shower has to come out clean or positive. So I could put in here a -5 or a +5. So we're going to write two inequalities, one with the positive and one with the negative. So this x right here could be one with a positive with the same symbol, one inequality written exactly the same. The other, when we write it with the -5, just like when you multiply or divide by a negative, your symbol flips. Okay? So we have two inequalities, one exactly like it was. X could be greater than 5, or x could be less than -5. What this really means, you guys, is the distance between the number and 0 is greater than 5 or less than -5, meaning it's on the outsides. Our arrows are pointing away from each other. So if we graph this, let's pretend 5 is here and -5 is over here because it's a negative number. These are both open circles. And at 5 we're pointing to the right, and at -5 we're pointing to the left. Look at your arrows like an L to the left, greater than to the right. So just exactly what I was just saying here, x is greater than 5, so any number greater than 5, or less than -5. So if you go back to our original equation, it says the absolute value of x is greater than 5, meaning the distance from 0 has to be greater than 5. So any number this way, like 6, the distance between 6 and 0 is greater than 5. The distance between any number over here, like -6, the distance between this and 0 is also greater than 5, because I'd have to count 6 numbers, which 6 is greater than 5. So all I'm doing here is providing two sets of answers on the negative side and the positive side that make this true. The easiest way to think about it is just like we did with the regular equal sign, set one equal to the positive and one equal to the negative. So that's what I'm going to do here. What could be put in here to come out clean? Well, I could put in a -6/7 or a +6/7. So n, flip the sign with the negative, greater than or equal to -6/7, or n is less than or equal to 6/7. Exactly like it's written right here, and then flipped with the negative. I'm always putting the negative one on the left because it's easy to graph the negative numbers on the left and the positive numbers on the right, just like our number line. Positives to the right, negatives to the left. These are both closed circles, and on this one, like an L, less than 6/7 would be to the left, greater than would be to the right. Alright, same thing here. Whatever goes in here has to come out clean. Well, I could put this equal to a +12 and that would come out clean, or equal to a -12 and that would come out clean. So we're going to write two inequalities. One, just like it is, 6p has to be less than or equal to 12, or 6p, flip the sign and make it a -12. Because this piece right here, I could put in a -12 in here and it would come out clean. So we got to solve both. So solving this one, I need to get rid of the multiply by 6. I'm going to divide by 6. And -12 divided by 6 is -2. Same thing over here, divide by 6. And we get p is less than or equal to 2. Now it won't always turn out that it's the same number, positive and negative. It just happened to be like that for the first three. So we have a -2 on our number line with a closed circle, a +2 on our number line also with a closed circle, and our symbol here at -2 is to the right, and at +2 is to the left. So again, we call this an AND statement because our arrows are pointing together. Notice they're always pointing together or apart. If they're not, you forgot to flip your symbol when you wrote one with the negative. So be careful. So now it's getting a little bit more complicated. Think for a second, what could you put inside the absolute value to make it come out a positive 8? So what could go inside here? Well, it could be 8 or negative 8 inside my absolute value to come out clean. So I need to write two inequalities. One with positive 8, just like it is, and the other with a negative 8, but our symbol has to be flipped the other direction. So what goes out front there? Well, whatever's inside the absolute value. X plus 3, x plus 3. One with the negative, one with the positive. And we just have to solve both. So to get x by itself, the opposite of adding 3 is just subtracting 3. So I have x, the symbol, and then same sign, add and keep. 8 plus 3 more is 11, but they're all negatives. Same thing here, subtract 3, but we have 8 minus 3 is 5. So notice we're not going to get the same answer every time. You have two different answers because one was with a negative and one with a positive. So on our number line, negative 11 is the smallest, 5 is the greatest. At negative 11, an open circle pointing to the right. And at 5, also an open circle but pointing to the left. Alright. Then over here, same thing. We need to think, what could we put in here to give us a positive 17? Well, negative 17 or positive 17. So we're going to write two inequalities. One like it is with 17, and the other, flip the sign and make it a negative 17. Well, what are we solving? Well, 2x minus 5. So let's solve both. Draw your line down. We need to get rid of subtracting 5, so I'm going to add 5 on both sides. I'm just solving one at a time here. So I have 2x. Negative 17 plus 5, there's more negatives. There's 12 more. 17 minus 5 gives you 12. And then divide by 2. We have x. And then 12 divided by 2 should give us a negative 6. Let's solve the same thing on the other side. Get rid of your adding and subtracting first, so add 5. I have 2x, symbol, and then 17 plus 5 more. Well, 7 plus 5 is 12, so it'll give you 22. And then divide both sides by 2. 2 over 2 is just 1x, or just x. And 22 divided by 2 is 11. So on your number line, think which one's smaller? Well, negative 6 is a negative number. It's the smallest. And 11 goes on the positive side. These both happen to be open circles. And then at negative 6 pointing to the left, less than, like an L to the left. That means greater than is to the right. Greater than 11 would be like 12 or 13. So our arrows are pointing apart. Reminder, they will never point the same direction. Alright, let's try a couple more. This next one, what do we have to set this equal to? Well, we need to write two inequalities because our absolute value here could be equal to 7 or negative 7 to come out clean. So write one like it is with 7, and the other we have to flip and make it a negative 7. So our two inequalities are going to be 3x minus 8 is less than or equal to negative 7, and 3x minus 8 is greater than or equal to 7. So let's solve both. Get rid of your addition and subtraction first. Add 8. So we have 3x. And then there's more positives. There's one more positive. And then lastly, the opposite of multiplying is dividing by 3. So I have x is less than or equal to. Now 1 divided by 3, it's not 1, it's not 3, it's literally 1/3, or in your calculator, 0.3 repeating. Same thing over here, get rid of your addition and subtraction first. So 3x, and 7 plus 8 is 15. And the opposite of multiplying by 3 is divide by 3. Same symbol, nothing's changed. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So let's graph this. Which one's smaller, 5 or 1/3? Well, 1/3 is less than 1, so that's the smallest number. 5 is on the right. These are both closed circles because of the equal to. And at 1/3 pointing to the left, at 5 pointing to the right. So think back to this problem here. We said whatever goes in the shower comes out clean, or positive, which is true, but our shower is only this part now. We have our whole bathroom here. If you think about this whole piece is our bathroom. You can only have a positive or a negative shower, or clean or a dirty shower, to come out clean. So we need to get rid of whatever else is in our bathroom, that plus 8. So to get rid of that first, we have to subtract 8. We got to clean up our bathroom, get rid of whatever else is in there, the dirty towels, whatever it is. So we have our symbol, and 13 minus 8, we'll count up from 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, that gives us 5 numbers. And this part is left over here. We have the absolute value of 4a minus 11 inside the absolute value. Now that our bathroom is all cleaned up, we need to have a clean or a dirty shower. This is our shower, remember. So right here, this piece could be equal to a positive 5 or a negative 5. So this is when I'm going to draw my little squiggle and write 2 inequalities. One with the 5 and one flipped with a negative 5. You can only write 2 equations when our absolute value is by itself. So here I have 4a minus 1 on this side and 4a minus 1 on this side. Let's just solve both now, like we've been doing. Get rid of addition and subtraction, so add 1. We get 4a, and negative 5 plus 1, there's more negatives, it's a negative 4. Different signs, we're really subtracting. And then divide by 4 again. A is greater than negative 4 divided by 4, which is 1. Same thing over here, add 1. We have 4a is greater than 5 plus 1 is 6. And then get rid of the 4 there, divide by 4. So we have a is greater than 6 divided by 4. Well, 6 divided by 4, if you plug that in your calculator, is not going to give you a nice number. We can divide them both by 2 to give us 3 over 2, or in your calculator, 1.5. So it's not a nice whole number, but it'll work. And now that I'm looking at this, you guys, I made one mistake. I never flipped my symbol back here. I wrote flip, but I never actually flipped it around. Because instead of greater than, we want less than. So this one was the less than, and this one's with greater than. I also would have figured that out because if I graphed it, my arrows would have been pointing the same direction, which can't happen. They have to be pointing together or apart. So I put negative on the left and positive numbers on the right. These are both open circles, and at negative 1 pointing to the left, at 1.5 pointing to the right. And we're done. This is an OR statement because they're pointing apart. Same here, this is OR. They're pointing together, that's an AND statement. We learned that last time. Alright, reminder here, before we write our 2 inequalities, we need to clean up our bathroom. So this is our whole bathroom. We have to clean up this part and this part before we can write two inequalities. So just like when we solve equations, we need to get rid of addition and subtraction before multiplication. Now be careful. These are not parentheses. Oops. Parentheses and absolute value are different. You cannot multiply absolute value. No, 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 no. You can multiply parentheses. So you can't multiply this because this is our shower door. You got to get rid of it by adding or subtracting or multiplying and dividing. So first, to get rid of this negative 3, I'm going to have to add 3. Remember, we're leaving this piece alone. We need it all by itself. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. I have 4, whatever is in my absolute value, and then the 8 there. So I'm just going to write w plus 7 inside there. And then I need to get rid of that multiply by 4. The opposite of multiplying by 4 is dividing by 4. Dividing by 4. So I have the absolute value of w plus 7. This is my absolute value. I'm drawing thicker lines there so you can tell 8 divided by 4 is 2. So then we need to write our two inequalities. One just like it is with the less than or equal to 2, and one with the negative 2, but our symbol is flipped. I really did flip it this time. And we have w plus 7. W plus 7. Only the part that's inside our absolute value. So the opposite of adding 7 is subtracting 7. So we have w, and then same sign, add and keep a negative 7 and a negative 2, that's a negative 9. And then over here as well, we need to subtract 7. So I have w is less than or equal to. Be careful, 2 minus 7, some of you are still writing negative 9. Different sign, subtract. 7 minus 2 is 5, but there's more negatives. So draw a number line to graph this. 9 and 5, they're both negatives. If 0 is here, we'd go negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, and then way over here would be negative 9. These are both closed circles because of the equals to, and then at 9 pointing to the right, and at negative 5 pointing to the left. Alright, I know this was a big lesson today. We went through kind of quick, so if you have questions, please make sure to ask. But the biggest thing I want you to be careful of is do not multiply. No, no, no. You cannot multiply those. You have to do the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing. Here's your homework. If you have questions, please let me know.